of the book of Imam Al-Ghazali. We are in the section that talks about the explanation of abandoned act of worship, fearing showing off, and fearing that people will say that we are not doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Imam Al-Ghazali now addressing this issue. قال اعلم أن من الناس من يترك العمل خوفا من أن يكون مرائيا به وذلك غلط وموافقة للشيطان بل الحق فيما يترك من الأعمال وما لا يترك لخوف الآفات ما نذكره. He is saying that some people abandon good deeds they're doing, fearing that they might be showing off. And he said this is wrong. And you are really agreeing with shaitan in leaving something like that. But he said the true the matter or the reality, it will be explained in coming the pages of explaining what constitute showing off, what is not. قال وهو أن الطاعات تنقسم إلى ما لذة في عينه كالصلاة والصوم والحج والغزو فإنها مقاسات ومجاهدات لما تصير لذيذة من أنها توصل لحمد الناس وحمد الناس اللذيذ وذلك عند اطلاع الناس عليها. He said that there's an act of worship that people get enjoyment from acting or doing it in itself. From the performing of the act itself, they get pleasure because of recognition. A person maybe have very beautiful recitation of the Quran and become a very famous qari. Now, that person will have to do a lot of struggle. They have to do a lot of work on themselves because being famous as a reciter of the Quran really can mix your intention. And whether are you going to do it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not for fame. And the same thing of a person fasting, voluntary fasting, being known as a person fasts all the time, or Hajj, or defending the rights of Muslims. And then he said, what pleasurable, people seek pleasure in many things, and it's not confined to the physical pleasure. وهو أكثر ما لا يقتصر على البدن بل يتعلق بالخلق. He said there's other things that people do not necessarily for physical pleasure. It has the components of prestige, acceptance, fame, recognition, power. He said like being in charge, have authority, political authority. Or a person at that time, the judge of the city, al-qada. Or become a governor. Or a person becoming law enforcement. Or become the imam of salah, person leading the salah. Or become a very famous preacher. Or becoming very eloquent in teaching and mastering teaching. Or a person have a lot of money that is spent, being known as a person who gives his money away to people, helping people. He said all of this could be a cause of seeking pleasure of doing them. Recognition. You give some people money, being well-known donors, or being the person have the power of correcting people, in enforcing laws, or even leading the salah. Therefore, what he's talking about here is talking about the psychological aspects of those positions. All of them come with troubles. Spiritual troubles. Whether being an imam, being a sheikh, PhD in Islamic studies, professors in universities, physicians, well-to-do businessman or woman. It comes with all of that. Even an athlete, famous basketball player, football player, it comes with all of that. This is the territory of nafs struggle. This is a field of nafs struggle. Success sometimes comes with a price. Success comes with a price. Some of the price of it, sometimes people attacking you. They have hussad, envy and jealousy, attacking you because you're successful. And you're going to have a lot of that happen even among scholars. They have hussad, jealousy. And then business people, or a person being promoted in their job, or become known for whatever reason. Then they have the hasad. And the hasad lead of us attacking people, speaking ill of them, and so forth, because the afa here, the problem, the disease, is called competition. Unhealthy competition. Unhealthy competitions full of jealousy, envy, all the diseases of the heart. The healthy competitions is that you want to compete in doing good. That's healthy competition. Not putting anyone down, not backbiting, not slandering somebody. That's healthy competition. Those are the areas where many people are struggling with, that he mentioned, that bring fame and recognitions and so forth. And also sometimes when a person have any kind of level of power, their head become very big and they abuse it. They abuse that power. Because human beings, sometimes they don't know the limitation. Arrogance. And the person has the power and he thinks that they're going to live forever. Any kind of power, level of power. I'm not talking only about political power, but any level of power. A person might exercise a wrong power. For a person has to be careful. That's where the disease comes in, sickness comes in. And trust me, knowing where we are in our life, it leads to a lot of soul searching. The more that you have blessing, you have to know that all the blessing comes with test. No blessing comes free of test. Man kathrat ni'amuhu kathrat niqamu. The more favor you may get, the more pleasure you may get, they come with test. It doesn't come free of charge. For a person, have to be careful how you deal and handle success in life. Very important. For he said there's a pleasure people get from those kind of things. He said, let us talk about the first category, which is the act of worship that had the physical manifestation of them. كالصوم والصلاة والحج. He says, first of all, I was just saying that salah wa sawm wa hajj wa ghazu, there is no pleasure in itself, but the pleasure meaning the joy of nafs. Of course, there's a pleasure of worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But this kind of pleasure that the person gets from recognitions. And he says that now, he said, let us discuss fasting, prayer, and hajj. فَخَطَرَةُ الرِّيَاءِ فِيهِ ثَلَاث. He said, the thought of showing off had three categories. أحدها إحداها ما يدخل قبل العمل. The first one that is a thought that comes to our mind before we initiate the action. What do you mean by that? When a person wants to pray, but the niyyah from the beginning is to show off. And there's no religious component, there's no spiritual components. It was all social performance. Social performance and no spiritual components. He said this is something that a person has to be careful of. If a person does that, it is a disobedient to Allah, not an obedient to Allah. فإنه تدرع بصورة الطاعة إلى طلب المنزلة. Of course, here Imam Ghazali talks also about the voluntary fasting, the voluntary prayers, praying tahajjud late at night and let everyone knows, put in a Facebook where you're praying tahajjud. You know? Make sure that have so many like while you're praying tahajjud. You know? Or the next day you put in your Facebook, my tahajjud was amazing, I prayed tahajjud. And keep doing this, not for the sake of Allah, not to encourage other people. Remember, I said we can encourage other people, and that could be okay at some level. But always, I think social media can make it have mixed intention. You know, tell people near you, but don't hold the whole world. And therefore, he's saying that at-tadarru', a person like shield, uses it as a shield, a way of getting fame. Become famous or known. إلى طلب المنزلة. فإن قدر الإنسان على يدفع عن نفسه باعث الرياء ويقول لها ألا تستحين من مولاك. If a person was able to push away the thought and the feeling or the pleasure of showing off, he has to do it by talking to himself and saying to her, ألا تستحين من مولاك. لا تسخين بالعمل لأجله وتسخين بالعمل لأجل عباده. He said that a person have to talk to themselves. He said, don't you feel shame that from your master, from your creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you become so genuine and so, very excited to do something for people, but you're not genuine doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How comes you consider people, importance of people, not consider the importance of Allah? And this, by the way, this is called Hadith al-Nafs. Hadith al-Nafs has two components. Hadith al-Nafs, that negative, the person talks to themselves by talking about an idea of sin, entertaining idea of sin, or self-talk, we call it self-talk in English, that you talk back to yourself to say, listen, you cannot do that. And Imam Ali, Karamallahu wajhahu, used to talk to himself. They say that he will talk to himself to say, to imagine the material world like another person talking to him. He say, غُرِّ غَيْرِي غُرِّ غَيْرِي, deceive other than me, deceive other than me, talking to the thought of material world. Therefore, this self-talk is very important. Some scholars call it muhasaba, which is the self-evaluation, or muraqaba. That a person must do this. Many of us that we don't advise ourselves. You know how you advise yourself? Advise yourself by telling yourself to do something that sometimes will not be easy, sometimes difficult. But you tell yourself, I'm doing this for you. It's your own self. You say, listen, I'm protecting you from hellfire. Yeah. This person here. Not no one else. I'm asking you to pray for Fajr on time, because you're going to enjoy it. Allah is calling you. Allah asks you to stand before Him. I'm asking you to make dua because the Lord Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala listen to the dua. Don't deprive yourself from the mercy of Allah. Talk to yourself. And as a person, sometimes in dunya calculation, a person may say, listen, why am I thinking like that? If I do this is really not a bad idea, because this can happen. That self-talk is very important in self-preservation. how to preserve yourself, how to protect yourself. You know, in the spiritual realm, there's something very important in terms of diagnosing oneself, to diagnose yourself, to know where you are and what your weaknesses are. But you seek really remedy. You seek remedy. There's self-beating. Some people beat themselves. That's not what I'm talking about. Self-beating is not helpful. It's not healthy. I'm a bad person. I'm not good. I'm good for nothing. That's not good for yourself. We don't like you to kill your nafs. We want you to redirect your nafs. We don't like you to not enjoy life. We want you to redirect your enjoyment. Because people think that the enjoyment is absent, is become numb. Abandon this world. There's so much opportunity in this world where people can really elevate themselves and engage themselves in the state of pleasure that other people will seek it. This is something very important. Something very important as we always talk about this state of nafs. Why are we? Because sometimes we have this methodology of breaking of nafs. Don't break your nafs. Break your lower desires. But your nafs, elevate your nafs. Make it nafs mutma'inna. Nafs mutma'inna, the nafs in the state of serenity is not a broken nafs, is it? You break that nafs? No. Therefore, I want to misunderstanding, because sometimes people think that spirituality by beating on yourself. No. Spirituality by directing yourself, restating the benefit of why you worship Allah, and telling yourself the consequence of not doing so, and talking about the pleasure of obedience, pleasure of connecting with Allah. How do you elevate yourself to the state that your obedience becomes something that you don't have any more trouble with it? I'm going to be realistic. That doesn't mean that people will not be struggling working for Fajr, because sleep is sweet. But if you then discover the sweetness of Salah, that will make a person then get up and pray. But until and unless we're able to discover that sweetness of Salah, our sleep still will be the main factor of us not getting up, or struggling getting up in the prayer. But the struggle itself is something that Allah appreciate. When a person is struggling in the path of Allah, Allah appreciate that. No human being not get distracted. Allah protect the prophets and messengers. But every human being get distracted. In Iblis convinced Adam alayhi salam to eat from the tree, because he told them, if you eat from the tree, you'll live forever, and you come and injure yourself. This is the reality of life. We will not believe in utopia. That's not what our religion is all about. This religion is realistic. Very realistic. You struggle every day, you make mistake, you make tawbah. You repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, قال وتسخر النفس بالعمل لله. He said, when the person then restate their intention and push away the wrong thoughts, then their state, the spiritual state, it become in compliance with Allah wants from it. He said the second aspect of this, he said a person might do something for the sake of Allah, the intention, the initiation of it was good. But a thought of showing off come to them during the action itself. He said that person should not stop praying. I'm talking of voluntary prayers and fasting. Say, let us give an example of this. Examples always explain concepts. Say if somebody says, let us do this tahajjud once a week, every Saturday, or every other Saturday, once a month. That person is initiating that. And his or her intention of calling people to come to the tahajjud was for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the beginning. Until people start posting about it. And that person see himself or herself become known as the Qiyam person. He said, don't stop doing this. Because Shaitan comes to you and says, like, showing off. He said, don't do that. Don't stop the actions because Shaitan wants to distract you, wants to make you not be sincere. But continue to do what you're doing. For many people volunteer, for example, in a masjid. And then people say to them, like, we see you all over the place. Why are you all over the place? I say, oh, no. People now think that I'm doing to show off. I'm all over the place. I'm going to withdraw. That's Shaitan idea. You said, inshallah, may Allah accept it. If you want to help, join me to help. How can I help? Can we help? That's how you address this issue, not to withdraw. That a person should fight themselves. If this show off comes to them, keep discipline themselves. وَلِجَاهِدْ نَفْسَهُ بِدَفْعِ الرِّيَاءِ وَتَحْصِيلِ الْإِخْلَاصِ. Let that person then push away this thought of showing off and regain sincerity in their action. Then he said also, a person may begin something with sincerity, and then the showing off take over them. He says, but the person go back to their state of sincerity. لكن يرجع إلى عقد الإصلاح. He said that person should not stop also doing it. Go back to the state of sincerity. He said because there's something very interesting. Listen to this carefully. He says Shaitan have techniques. First, he doesn't want you to pray. If you're not praying to begin with, he succeeded. Right? You start praying. Then Shaitan says, now you try to be religious. Look to your past. You're bad. You're horrible. Don't try to pretend to be religious. Who's going to believe you? He makes these things about people instead about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then demoralize a person from praying. There's many people come sometimes they think that they're not clean enough to Allah. Allah will clean you. Allah covers sins. Yaghfir dhunub. Allah clean a person, purify a person. He wiped out sins. Ya'fu, even the trace of it, he clean it. For who say that you cannot come back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? For this idea, what time Maghrib, Paul? Adhan Maghrib? Today? 37. The Adhan is 37? Just double check. Yes, brother. Okay, 37, okay. The website says 38. 38 the Adhan? Okay, good. Therefore, all of us, we have this kind of thought come to our mind. A person might even pray and say, am I praying to Allah or praying because of my parents? No. Restate your niyyah. Pray for Allah. Your parents helping you to be good Muslim. Your parents encouraging you to be good Muslims. Their parents leading you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't let Shaitan come between you and Allah. For this idea of restating one niyyah, the intention, it's very, very important. And many of us, as we struggle with the spiritual path, I want to give myself advice and to you. Our social circle is very important of encouraging us to do what's right. If somebody not practicing Islam in our family try to pass judgment on us by saying, from when you become religious, from when you start praying, and they're frowning, so you should be happy for me. Alhamdulillah, I start praying, start practicing, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help you as well. But don't try to pass judgment to me to say that you are not doing it sincere. Don't try to be holier than thou, they call it. No. Therefore, he's saying, Imam Al-Ghazali here, saying, Shaitan take you in the steps. First, I want you not to pray to begin with. After you start praying, he comes to you and says, are you really doing for God, for Allah? Shaitan become a mufti, telling you like, are you really doing for Allah or are you doing to show off? That's not only in prayer, in giving, sadaqah, for example. So, are you doing it for Allah or are you doing it? Then you say to yourself, maybe I'm not doing it for Allah. Then the shaitans have you stop not doing it. But what you need to be done is a person restating the niyyah and defeat shaitan and continue doing what it's supposed to be doing. And let me just say, all of this has psychological components. And actually, in order to know the spirituality, you have to know a little bit psychology. How our emotion changes and how shaitan make our mood changes. And when our mood changes about who we are, about the act of what we're doing, then we start doubting ourselves. Then you have waswasa, all kind of things. Am I good Muslims? Am I deserving it? And so forth. It make you يُحْزِنَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. So you make you sad. Sad being a Muslim, sad being praying. And for Imam Al-Ghazali said, don't do that. And then sometimes he said, Shaitan will tell you that you are wasting your life. Allah is not going to accept it from you. Look to your past. Look who you are. Do you think Allah is going to accept that from you? Then people give up. He gave an example. He said, if somebody gives somebody like grains called hinta, and it mixed with other grains, and said, please clean any kind of elements, other elements from these crops that I gave you. And the person looked at it and said, like, oh, this is too much to do this. I'm not going to be able to be good at it. Therefore, I'm going to stop doing it. I'm going to quit working. He said, don't let shaitan do this to you. Who have a yard here? Do you garden in a garden? Do gardening? Gardening. What do you do when there's wheat? What do you do with the wheat? Pull it out. But you stop farming, you stop planting things. That's what shaitan does. When you do good deeds, there's weeds come with it, sometimes showing off. Don't stop the farming. Don't stop the good deeds. Pull the wheat. Clean the surrounding of the good deeds. Let it stand clean, strong. And that's how we purify oneself. Because sometimes we feel on this trip, the trap of shaitan, tripping us and put us in this trap that we feel very low, have low self-esteem. ومن هذا القبيل يترك العمل خوف من الناس أن يقول إنه مراء. He said also that people stop doing things because people are going to say that you're showing off. فيعصون الله به فهذا من مكايد الشيطان لأنه أولا أساء الظن بالمسلمين وما كان من حق يظن بهم كذلك. Sometimes, I'm going to stop here, that sometimes what will happen, our assumption is wrong. A person says, if I volunteer in this masjid, people are going to say I'm showing off. I'm doing it to be famous. And then as if he's saying that Muslims are not good people. They always think bad of you. What? Think the best of them too. هذا ظن بالمسلمين. That you make an assumption that they're not good people. He said, don't do that. Assume the best of them and keep going, because Shaitan put this in our heart. That all people don't like us, people will hate us, and then we stop doing what is good. I'll give you one example of this. If somebody have done something good, and the person forget to say thank you, what Shaitan say come to you says, don't do anything good to this person. He's arrogant. Maybe he forgot. And why you ask him to say thank you to begin with? إنما نطعمكم لوجه الله لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا. We did only for the sake of Allah. We don't expect anything in return. Shaitan make us stop doing things to our family, to our friends, to people around us, because it says you'll not be violated, you're not being appreciated enough. Stop doing it. You come to the masjid, volunteer says they don't give you recognition. Stop doing it. No. If you do for the sake of Allah, that's all you need. Allah is enough. Allah is sufficient. Isn't Allah sufficient for us? Sufficient for all of us. Maghrib time. Inshallah. Subhanak Allah wa hamdik la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wal 'asr innal insana lafi khusr. Alladhina amanu wa 'amilus salihati wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. I think the adhan time.